the advice was in effect that you should manage your energy, not managing your time. Too many people try to cram too much into a single day, but actually you can do a whole lot more if you're energized, if the activity that you're pursuing is something you really enjoy. And so think about what kind of gives you energy, and structure your day and perhaps even your life and career or business around those things that do energize you.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hi and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. As you know, my name's Rick Nuske. I tell you what, I've got something very, very special lined up for you today. I have on the line with me the CEO of Voices.com, David Ciccarelli. How are you, David?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Rick. Great intro and glad to be here today.
Oh, thank you very much. I pride myself on getting surnames correct and the introduction perfectly in tune with our audience. So again, it's wonderful to have you here, and we're going to be talking a lot about your business, Voices.com, the genesis of that organization, and primarily though, we're going to be focusing on the topic of financing and raising capital for your startup, which is, I know, close and near and dear to the hearts of our audience. So, David, before we jump into the nuts and bolts of the call, I was wondering if you could share a little bit about yourself with us.
Sure. Well, I should start off with, I'm a husband and married to my dear wife, Stephanie, who, relevant point, is also a co-founder in Voices.com.
Yes.
So we've been married and kind of know nothing other than starting this business together and running it. Along the way, of course, we have 4 wonderful kids, a boy and 3 girls that keep us as busy outside the office as inside the office. And in the evenings, we'll find ourselves, in summer and springtime, jumping on our trampoline, or we've got a great fire pit in the backyard and enjoy time chatting around the fire and bringing back the art of conversation, as you mentioned, Rick. And then
Yes.
during winter, maybe on a skating rink or sliding down a hill, or maybe an indoor trampoline park or something along those lines. But yeah, we have lots of fun with the kids, and certainly keeps us busy.
So, in terms of your location, where are you at the moment?
We're in London, Canada, which is just a couple hours outside of Toronto.
Fantastic.
Really, the kind of commercial capital of Canada. What some people don't know, though, is it's actually the 3rd biggest city in North America: New York, and then Los Angeles, and then Toronto. I should say North America would technically include Mexico. So, so 4th biggest in North America. It's an amazing metropolis, really, that has grown, and so we definitely feel that effect. So if anytime we want to go to the big city and hop on a train or just take a quick drive down the 401, the busiest highway in North America, and enjoy all the excitement and entertainment of the big city.
Yes, that's wonderful. It's funny, I've got very close friends who are Canadian, and they live in Vancouver, and it's very much like where I'm at is Adelaide, South Australia. In Australia, it's they're on par apparently. So I think I don't know where you're exactly at, but that sounds absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Absolutely. And we, speaking of Australia, we had a family vacation there actually last year.
Oh,
and
very
so
nice.
Our kids really everyone loved. We spent most of the time in Sydney, and then a week in the Blue Mountains as well too. So just beautiful countryside.
Yes, it is vast, it is varied, and there's lots to see. I don't think you could cram it all in. It's just it's quite a large expanse of of land to cover. So, going back to your story, do you actually find there's much time away from Voices.com to do anything like sports?
Well, I think over the years, the short answer would be no, not terribly much. I think, there's only a finite amount of time in the day, and you're really kind of picking and making those choices of where you want to dedicate your time. And I find it's, either, I'm either at work and with other people there, or I'm at home with the family. And there's, weekends might involve, of course, church on Sunday mornings. But other than that, I enjoy my downtime reading and refreshing and and getting rejuvenated on those weekends to kind of have at it the next week and just pour all that energy in. So
Yeah.
it's actually a great business, Harvard Business Review article about a senior partner at Ernst & Young, EY, the big accounting firm. And
Mm-hmm.
it was really all around the advice was in effect that you should manage your energy, not managing your time. Too many people try to cram too much into a single day, but actually you can do a whole lot more if you're energized, if the activity that you're pursuing is something you really enjoy. And so think about what kind of gives you energy and, structure your day and perhaps even your life and career or business around those things that do energize you. So that's where I try to get energy from, would be kids and my faith and of course our business as well.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And I love the fact that every leader that I speak with, and I've spoken with a few, they always
Mhm.
are reading. There's just so much to be taken from, so much benefit in reading. And as a leader, if you're not educating yourself, it's I suspect it would be very difficult to be well-rounded as a leader. Could you talk to that a little bit about being that leader in that leadership role?
Growing up, I didn't enjoy reading, to be honest, and nor did I enjoy public speaking. And I
Hmm.
realized these are two critical skills to develop. And I think it comes down to the subject matter. If I'm finding a topic that I can really throw myself into, then I get so much out of it. And if reading words on a page isn't for you, then maybe consider, because that's just not how you learn best, consider listening to audiobooks. Myself, I'm actually staring at my bookshelf in our office right now, and so there's just a variety of topics. Most of them, of course, business oriented,
Yeah.
but running the gamut from leadership, management, various technologies, sales and marketing and support, and how to develop a vision and communicate that. And so I think these are, the benefit of reading is you're learning from others who have done it before you. And and it ends up being, quite the mix of all of these ideas that you can apply what you can in your own business
Hmm.
and take those ideas that resonate with you and try to put them to work. I think that's kind of the key is put those ideas into practice when you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, and that's what makes it stick.
I can imagine how expansive your library of books looks. I can envision it now, given that the areas of expertise that you're involved with range from anything to do with your traditional entrepreneurship strategy, startups, scale ups, marketplaces, online technology, voice technology, which is a big one we're going to be talking about a little bit later, product
Mhm.
development, culture, and the list goes on and on. So it'll be quite a vast library, I'm sure.
And if you're spending any time on planes, this is why they have bookstores in airports. We actually, and I think get a book. In fact, one was given to me. They knew somebody knew I had a flight and knows how much I enjoy reading. That's in the office and handed me a book on the way out today, and I'll enjoy diving into that. It's all about product development and management, the lean product manager. So I think that is one of the skills of a entrepreneur is as scary as it sounds, most people you hire, you actually need them to be experts and specialists,
Hmm.
whereas the entrepreneur, often a leader of a division or even of your own company, you do need to be more of the generalist, where you have a baseline knowledge across a variety of subjects so that you can engage and interact those that you work with and challenge them, encourage them, maybe put forth some new ideas.
Hmm.
And so I refer to this concept as horizon scanning. I'm doing two things. I'm scanning the horizon for new ideas, thoughts that either coming from maybe a podcast that I'm listening to,
Yep.
it might be a video I'm watching or a conference I've attended, and of course, books that I read. And I'm bridging those ideas out there in the world and bringing them back into our office. And so Peter Drucker talks about, kind of management guru talks about the role of the CEO is to bridge the outside world with the inside world. Not everyone else has the benefit of traveling and meeting with customers and maybe pitching investors. Whatever that feedback is, those ideas that you're developing and accumulating on the road, if you can bring those ideas from the outside and into your business and share those and invigorate those around you, I think that is one of those critical roles of the leader of an organization, most often the CEO.
Yes, thank you again for sharing. That's such great insight. I've taken two things away there, David. The first is knowing your sweet spot as a CEO, and part of that is being that generalist who goes out and interacts with potential investors and so forth. And a lot of it also comes back down to if you're that smart, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And that's what you're talking about is actually surrounding yourself with those who are smarter than you. Essentially, would that be fair?
Absolutely. We just had this actually a discussion in our company around the need a while back for a vice president of product.
Hmm.
And voices.com is an online product. So we were looking for somebody with, digital marketing, digital products, understanding the customer journey online, these type of concepts. And, to date, candidly, it was me. And so realizing, getting the encouragement of our board of directors and the rest of the people on the leadership team, recognizing that this truly is its own discipline.
Hmm.
And not that I don't think I was doing a terrible job, but I think we all recognize that it was getting a fraction of my time. And so what if we could find somebody who has done it before, maybe once or twice, that their skill level actually exceeds anybody else within the organization. And I think it requires a degree of humility. Recognize that you're not probably the best at everything. And as soon as you get over that fact, then you actually unlock the potential of someone else putting their imprint on the organization. And it's just a really magical moment. And so we did actually find our VP of product, and in fact, they just started this week. So that's why it's top of mind for me. And already I can just tell this person's coming with a willingness to learn,
Hmm.
but I can tell that they early on that they've got lots of ideas that they can draw on from their experience of how they can propel voices.com into the future.
It must be an exciting feeling, literally a feeling that you would get once you realise that, hey, look, this person is the gun in this position. I'm now free to grow to my maximum potential, whereas before you were somewhat truncated in terms of what you could do.
And that's absolutely, it is very freeing. And I think it'll permit me to do those things that only I can do,
Yeah.
which is another one of those things of how often do so many of us get caught up in activities that maybe if we asked ourselves, you know what, I should delegate this out, I should hire a subcontractor, I really ought to, maybe somebody else on my team could do this, but we have this desire and tendency that, oh, well, I can just do it faster, I can just get it done now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really to kind of unlock that potential that you have in yourself, you do need to learn to let go. And as soon as you do that, I think you'll find that new opportunities either appear or you can pursue them on your own time.
Hmm.
And we all need time to let those ideas kind of percolate up. And so being willing to let go. And I heard that was told to me many years ago, David, when, this, again, around this concept of time management, do things that energize you and do things that only you can do. And that might mean signing legal documents because you're the only one that can sign. It's not necessarily something that energizes you, but you're legally bound that only you can do it.
Yeah.
But if there's other things like, the bookkeeping day to day, or maybe, a routine customer service or sales or other administrative tasks, that it's not your forte, you don't enjoy doing it,
Hmm.
and therefore equip and empower someone else to take the reins there.
Well, there you go, everybody who's listening to the call today. That is some sage advice. David, I'd love to go back a little earlier in time with the genesis of voices.com. You're at that stage back in the day, and you're in this position where you're starting to look at raising capital for your business. What was the journey like back then?
Well, most businesses immediately jump to how do we get some, get cash, and that's really the cash is the oxygen. Has been said many times. Cash is the oxygen or lifeblood of a business.
Hmm.
And so when Stephanie and I started the company, it originally was a membership-based service where voice actors subscribe to voices.com and gain access to job opportunities, gigs. Now we call it the gig economy, right?
Yep.
But really gigs that they could reply to and win the job themselves. And so in exchange for a small membership fee, which at the time was $49 per year, we would go out and market them. And so Stephanie wrote a long form sales email that made that proposition and emailed a number of people. And we actually had a link to PayPal at the bottom of that where they could subscribe to the service. And over that first weekend when we launched, we generated over $5,000 in subscriptions, in memberships to our site, which was when it was just launching. We realized, oh wow, great on two fronts because now we had cash to actually grow the business,
Hmm.
but immediately we felt the responsibility to go out and market to potential employers. We call them clients, people at video production companies and advertising agencies that would hire them. And so that, this concept of where does cash come from? Let's not be too quick to forget that cash can come from customers and customers right from the very beginning. And so having a means to collect that, whether it's on PayPal, Square or Stripe, or even, good old fashioned, check, a business check,
Yep.
and having a good kind of collections process there. I think these are all important sources of cash. Once, carrying that journey forward, we realized, hey, we're really onto something here. We're facilitating these connections between the voice talent and the client, and people were having success on this website. We wanted to grow, and we wanted to grow faster. And in order to do that, we did take on a bank loan. And so if this is kind of our second source of cash, would be cash from debt. And so we're borrowing money to fuel back into predominantly advertising online, specifically Google AdWords,
Yep.
as being kind of the main channel that was working for us at the time. And so we had actually borrowed, our first loan was for $30,000. And then we paid that off early, and then we got a $50,000 loan, and then paid that off early. And a couple of years later, it was 100, and then 250, and 500, and then 900. And finally, we had the Business Development Bank of Canada lent us $2 million to continue to grow. And this was all with one institution that we had developed a track record with over a decade. And so it's probably pretty difficult to just go and get a $2 million loan off the bat, but because they knew us and they saw the growth, and year in and year out, we delivered financial statements to them. They had the confidence that there was cash flowing through the company, and we were able to service a $2 million loan.
It would seem that you have forged a relationship with specific individuals within those banking groups that would know you obviously by first name at this stage. Is that important to for our audience? How do they go about it when they don't even know necessarily that that they'll be taken on board by those banking institutions? What would you say to them?
Yeah, well, the best, the best time to develop a relationship with a bank or a financier is when you candidly don't need their money. No one wants to lend somebody money who's in a desperate situation.
Mm,
And
mm.
isn't it true that, the banks can be there when you don't need their money, and when you need their money, they're kind of nowhere to be found.
It's
And so let's get ahead of that cycle and develop the relationships from a position of strength. One, when you're initially launching your business, float the idea by them. And usually what they'll say is, oh, it's a little early. We'd like to see some traction or some proof points.
hmm
Keep us posted. Great. Well, you started the relationship. Now it's your responsibility as an entrepreneur to provide them with updates. And I even did that, believe it or not, with banks that we didn't even bank with. And I did that by sometimes just sending them an email, or if we got our year-end, an email with what I called a flash report, which was really just a bulleted email of like news headlines in kind of in the format of a news headline
Yep.
of growth rates or employees or an award we won. So that was something I did for years and years, kind of almost like a quarterly newsletter to banking institutions. And so you got to remember that, there's stakeholders, people who have a vested interest in your organization. We often think of, customers as being an important stakeholder. We got to deliver on for them, employees, but then also these other investors or financiers are definitely a stakeholder group. So I think, if those listening can recall or remember that it's important to develop those relationships when you don't need the money. So when you do, they're that much more likely to see that this is a long journey and not that you've been on, and they have more confidence in you and they understand your communication skills. It's an old banking phrase that you'll have to kind of look at this afterwards, but I believe it's called the 3 C's of banking and lending, which is credit, character, and I think capacity, like how much you can take on. Might have got one of those C's wrong, but character is one of the main ones, and so start that relationship. Let them see your good character and your good nature of how you are working with them.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. I wonder now, if we go to the next stage, you're in this phase with voices.com. You've got some traction. You know for a fact, hey, look, there is something here. It's a product and service, which is one and the same, I guess, in this respect, that people want this. What was it like for you when you brought on your first employee? Was that a difficult task? Because I know a lot of our audience ask about that.
It was a little harrowing, to be honest with you. I think I had built it up to be much more concerning in my mind, the legal ramifications and concerns, the additional obligation that I had, and that Stephanie and I had as owners of a company, that we are responsible for someone else's livelihood. This is again where the advice of a local small business group. Often there's in countries around the world, most governments have either at the municipal or city level, or maybe the kind of more national level,
Yep.
have small business entities that support entrepreneurs in navigating through these exact challenges. We felt, once again, tremendously liberating to be able to delegate. I just say it like it is. Delegate those tasks that were mostly customer service and financial tasks at the very outset, handling billing inquiries and so forth, to someone else who actually had experience in doing that. And so it wasn't as long as you're paying your payroll taxes and conducting things like one-on-ones and making sure you're having that time together with your employees, and there's good kind of communication. I think it's often that kind of getting over that hump of the first employee. I think we've built it up in our minds that it's this really scary thing, and that we've suddenly exposed ourselves to all of this risk. I don't think it was quite the case. In fact, you realize you're like, oh, okay, that wasn't so bad. They're showing up to work. I'm showing up to work. We're building a company together.
You, as an entrepreneur, obviously you have many hats to wear, and this is just another one of them, isn't it? Really, when you boil it down.
Absolutely. And founder title is just a fact, and it's a point in time.
Yep.
It doesn't give you any special privileges. Really, you're an employee in your own company. So you need to conduct and behave that way. There really shouldn't be any special treatment for you. You're an owner of your company, and you might have other owners as well. So Stephanie was an equal owner. And now we actually have outside investors who are part owners of Voices. And in which case, if you're an owner or a shareholder, you might even have, if the company grows to a size, an advisory board or a board of directors who oversee what's referred to as governance, kind of the operating practices and the management of the organization as kind of that outside
Yeah.
third party. So it can be, you often find yourself, you're like, okay, which persona am I playing right now? Am I an employee, an investor, or a board member? And sometimes you have to have, preface our conversations with each other, even Stephanie and I, or with the rest of the management team, so they know the role that I'm playing. Most of the time it's an employee,
Yeah.
and the CEO is an employee in the company.
You talk about this, I guess the different hats that you'd wear. Do you really change your persona? You're in a boardroom or you're in a, investors meeting as the CEO, as opposed to you're on the shop floor with those who are actually sharing their voice. Do you find yourself actually being different in terms of your personality?
That's a very pointed question, and a good one. I find I am most comfortable as the CEO,
Yeah.
and because that's where I spend most of my time probably. And once a month we have board calls where it's a conference call, and then once a quarter it's an in-person, usually day long or half day long board meeting,
Hmm.
and that's the deep dive. And for those, I actually do refer to. I take the position that management is reporting that the performance of the company is this. Um, I really do try to take the board member position, mostly out of respect for the other board members, that this is a board meeting and therefore that's how I need to conduct myself. So it does take, to be candid, it does take a bit extra effort because it's not my default position day in and day
Yeah,
out.
yeah. Because I can tell you're fairly laid back, but being an ex-corporate myself, I know that you do have to wear different hats for different roles. So it's a wonderful piece of insight into I guess, your psychology behind it. So thank you so much for that. David, I was wondering, can we pivot to voices.com now and talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So, Voices we refer to it as an online marketplace. And so this is connecting those people with great voices, voice actors. Maybe many of you listening have been told at some point in time, you've got a great voice, you should be on radio or doing TV commercials, or maybe podcast advertisements. And the question is, well, where would I go, and how do people make money doing that? And so the traditional path, and one that's certainly relevant to today, is yes, you need that, dare I say, a God-given ability to have a great sounding voice,
Hmm.
but then also some technical skills, knowing how to record and edit sound, and then the marketing skills. How do you promote yourself? And it's usually that last piece that most aspiring voice talent or voice artists, we kind of use those terms interchangeably, aspiring voice talent really struggle with. Well, I'm in Kalamazoo, Michigan, or St. Louis, Missouri. It's not like it's a massive metropolis of production. How do I get that work? And so this type of work is really freelance work. It is, there's a number of freelance platforms out there that are like generalist websites. I know there's freelancer.com in Australia.
Yeah.
It's really a kind of a global entity, I believe, at this point, and on the Australian Stock Exchange. Upwork is a global freelance company as well, too, which
Hmm.
is doing quite well. And then there's niche sites. So 99 Designs, if you're a graphic designer,
Yes.
TopTal for web development and mobile development, and voices.com for voiceover work. There's lots of them out there.
Hmm.
And so whatever your passion is, you can probably find some type of gig economy type platform where as a freelancer, you can find work. And so our job then actually not only is to create the environment where those talent can find work, but we actually spend a lot of our time, I'm going to go as far as saying the majority of our time, attracting those clients, those buyers to the platform, which range from those at advertising agencies and video production companies, people who are looking for a voice to educate, inform, or entertain their audiences. And they need a script to be read. And that's what they do. You can, and if that's more of you that might be listening, or like, actually, I'm more of a business owner that might need a voice for a podcast or a phone system, you can post a job. And by posting a job, that really is how, where you can kind of put in all the details of who you're looking for, the language, the maybe specific accent, the age, the gender of the voice, and then your script. And talent will receive that information and audition for you, which means they'll record maybe 30 seconds of your script, and they'll say how much they're willing to do the work for. So they're quoting on that work, and you can go hire them right through the platform. So that's really how it works on both sides: talent getting work and clients getting work done.
I'm sitting here already. I'm thinking, gee, I have a lot of projects in the pipeline. I certainly have a voice. I wonder if it's good enough. But now I'm sort of thinking, I might drop into voices.com. And on that note, David, it's been an absolute treat having you on the My Future Business Show with me today.
Oh, my pleasure, Rick. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.